Hello everyone, welcome to the second episode of Saucecast, where stories inspire, lessons turn into mentorship, one drop of sauce at a time. And in this episode, we're focusing on wellness and fitness. We have two experts with us, that's Anushka Bagla, and we have Brett Norris. Welcome both of you. We're really thrilled to have you both here. Just a quick one before we begin. I'd like to know if you were to give an elevator pitch of what you do in this vast world of fitness and wellness. How would you present that, Anushka?
I am somebody who's into mind shaping and just helping you to raise your energy levels, mentally and physically.
All right, that's very interesting. And Brett, yourself?
Actually, something very similar. So I help men and women who have been struggling for 3 months or more with physical issues reframe their mind to help their physical recovery.
Okay, that is a very quick elevator pitch, I must say.
It is.
Yeah, but what's that one thing that one wellness habit that you would say, like you woke up today in the morning and you practice it like perhaps every day of the week?
Maybe breathing.
Okay.
Like there's different ways that you can breathe. So when you feel an emotion, your breathing changes. So you can breathe a particular way to feel a particular emotion. So I feel like I use breathing that way quite a bit in my daily life to feel maybe calmer, more relaxed, less anxious, things like that.
Okay, interesting. And Brett, yourself?
Mine's like focusing on open-mindedness. So I'm trying to not get stuck in judgments and making decisions on things that I don't fully understand. So I'm generally a better person for my wife and myself and my clients if I'm open-minded. So it would be that. Yeah, that's
quite beautiful actually. And going to breathing, I think it's so underrated. Like even though we hear that a lot of times, even when, I don't know, during doing yoga or even while, when we're practicing gym, like it's something that we hear all the time, like breathe in, breathe out, these many breaths. But I feel like I personally get so lost in the technique of breathing and the importance of breathing. Do you find people like in the same sphere where they just find it difficult to understand why breathing is important?
I think so, because I think some people even get annoyed when you keep saying like, okay, now breathe. But like if you just notice right now, are you breathing? You might be holding your breath, most likely.
Oh, okay.
Or not aware of it. So we tend to hold our breath quite a bit, which is not really moving and there's no flow of energy going on. So if you just do that, like if you just try right now, breathe in and then breathe out, you're just suddenly a little bit more relaxed already and ease in your own skin. Because the whole idea, I find that everything that I do is to make myself more comfortable in my own skin. If I'm not comfortable, if I have agitations in the body, I'm definitely going to have agitations in my mind. And when do you feel good then, So I think breathing helps a lot.
And like different religious practices, they emphasize quite a bit on breathing as well. So one thing which we can pinpoint is, the fact that breathing exercises, I think most of the breathing exercises which I have done, so they would come from yoga. So my mom, she started her yoga routine at like around the age of, I think like 55 plus, right? This is the first time she was introduced to it. And she had a remarkable sense of power when she started doing this, because simple things as just folding your knuckles 10 times or just, leg work, and these are quite simple in the sense that they're not straining on the body. These things can have a very big impact in the amount of oxygen flow that's going within your body, right? So I want to know from you, Anushka, like in terms of that within your studio. So now that we started with breath work, I just want to know what around breath work are you trying to facilitate within your studio? I mean, how much of an integral part of your work is breath work essentially?
It's something, it's the life of the studio, I would say, where in every class, like breathing is emphasized, if not as pranayam, but as that at least try to bring your awareness to your breath. Because with yoga, like doing the physical exercises, it's just a physical exercise and there's only that amount you can achieve with it. What takes you further in your practice is when you not only bring your awareness to the breath, but use your breath to guide you deeper. Because say in any physical activity, if you're trying to push yourself, you have to just notice whether you're able to breathe in that pushing. And if you're not, then that means just step back a little bit. Because what is breath? What is prana? It's your life force. It's your life energy. And if that's being compromised, then it just means back off, practice till you can breathe, and then you'll go deeper quicker, actually.
And that's one thing I'll say, right, in terms of different disciplines, right? Because I'm someone who has gone to the gym, I got a book about Kriya Yoga. So if you really dive into different disciplines, the depth each discipline demands and the amount of work each discipline demands is going to be quite intense. So one question I will address to both of you then is the fact that, within Dubai, it's such a rushed place, right? People are rushing up. So Brett, I want to know, what's your favorite part of helping people? First of all, really understand where their health is, like the base point of where their health is at. Because I believe that many times, you may have come across clients where they had no idea how much of a messy situation they were in.
Yeah.
And then once they really start to understand it, they were like, holy hell, I have just wasted all my life working so hard. So I just want to know, what has that journey been like for you to connect people to their health? And, from there, they start that baseline approach. Okay, we are here. From here, where can we go? So if you can just give us some insight on that.
Yeah, I think something that you probably have to recognize as a coach, going back to your first part of that question, is why you do what you do. And so for me anyway, I might be going out on a limb here, but me anyway, I was really just trying to create a world that I wanted when I was younger. So I wanted to be heard, I wanted to be understood. I wanted to be listened to. I didn't want to come with a problem and have it fixed. I wanted to come with a problem, just someone to sit with me and just hear me. And so then I guess that lent into my work, and I delivered that. So when you put what's a real core purpose to you out in the world and you see it make an effect. I mean, I was in tears on Friday of a client, because it's just beautiful to see that I'm even getting like goosebumps now, to see when you put your purpose out in the world and you see that reflected back and it makes an impact. It's the most beautiful thing in the world. Like it's super rewarding. So part of it is a very selfish reason. I believe nothing's selfless, so that's kind of a selfish reason. In terms of the biggest impact, it's definitely taking them to a point of open-mindedness. So just to clarify for people that might not mean much to, as human beings, we have access to about 2% of what's going on around us. So by definition, any judgments or decisions that we're making are kind of limited. So I like to say to my clients, like, I never feel like I'm right, but hopefully I'm just getting less wrong.
Yes.
And so when you meet people who feel stuck, they tend to be making a lot of judgments and decisions on things, and they have a very firm belief of who they are as a person. So the most impactful thing that I can do is open them, get them to, guide them to an open state of open-mindedness, so that they can see actually that these limitations they place on themselves aren't actually there. And then we can go on this journey, whether it's physical, with the mind, with the physical self. Breath becomes easier, because you're not trying to force anything, you're just being.
What you're saying is quite interesting, because what I can gauge from what both of you do is connecting mind and body, and like kind of integrating that within your approach.
Sure.
And I think it's becoming fitness is not fitness anymore. Like, it's not confined in a box. It's becoming a very holistic way of living.
Yeah.
People are picking this more as a lifestyle. Is that something, but I also see certain barriers in this aspect. Brett, do you want to talk more about what kind of barriers are we actually facing currently?
Yes, this is a question that I think I like to call them invisible barriers that you might not actually think of. So one of the biggest barriers that's in front of people is not what I call, but it's called preoccupation. So you're preoccupying yourself with what the future is going to look like. So if you meet someone, let's just call him Gerald, and he's had a problem for 15 years, he thinks no matter what he does today, he's going to wake up tomorrow and pay a price for it. Everything's going to look worse. So he's constantly preoccupying himself with, I really want to go to the gym and go for that run today, but if I go for the run today, I'm going to end up with my back pain again. I don't want that, because I've got to sit with a client tomorrow and everything's so from the outside perspective, he might have his wife or his girlfriend or his partner or business associate saying, he's so lazy, he's not getting on with it. But the problem is he's preoccupying his mind, because he's made a judgment on it, that it's just going to end up in the same old story. So preoccupation is getting someone to understand that the future that they're actually creating for themselves is actually preventing them from moving forwards. Is absolutely massive. Another one, just to give a second one, and I'll pass over to Anishka, is outcome independence. So helping people, if you're going to move forward, sometimes you have to move forward independently of the outcome. So I'm sure you've experienced this. Someone might try breath work once for 3 seconds and they go, I just feel the same.
Yeah.
And you're like, you've got to give it time, right? Like, it takes practice, it takes time. And so when they move beyond that and they see it more of a journey, that hopefully if you've got a supportive coach, they realize that journey doesn't always involve the coach. It also becomes done on their own. Once they start to move beyond and accept this kind of outcome independence, moving forwards is you take the wins, you take the losses, you take the learnings. It starts to become a lot easier. So preoccupation and outcome independence are two invisible barriers that trip
and
everybody up that I meet.
And how do you deal with clients with either of them? Like, how do you? I'm assuming you train, again, it comes to the mind-body integration, right?
Yeah. So it's a really good question. So you don't know until you listen to them, because everyone's going to have a different way of their preoccupation, their outcome independence is going to, or their judgments and decisions are going to turn up in a different way. So you just listen to them.
Okay.
You just listen to them, and they will give you everything. They'll just show you what they're preoccupying themselves with, and then I'm not trying to fix it for them. I'm just going to then just help them see that that's what's going on. And if they're open-minded, they're going to go, oh my God, yeah, of course. And then it gives them an opportunity to reframe. And it might take them a few weeks to reframe. It might take some people just a minute to reframe. And that already starts becoming life-changing. So these people that are coming for like a knee problem, they're saying to you, oh my God, my life just feels so different. And I've seen you for like 3 weeks, but I haven't done anything. I just helped them reframe their mind. See a different. So it all starts with listening. Just listen to people.
Yeah.
Listen to people with the intent to understand.
I wanna segue into awareness. So I wanna really ask you guys in terms of awareness about health. So my dad, he passed away, God rest his soul, but he had this one condition. He had flat feet. All his life, he had no idea. And he would say, guys, I'm having a little bit of pain in my feet and whatnot. And surprisingly, even I got that. So when I went to the doctor told me that, oh, well, you should have had a surgery when you were born. And the next thing is, obviously, you had to wear something known as an orthotic or foot support, right? Yeah. Foot support in terms of you having that arch so that you can walk properly. So I have like back pain and whatnot, but ever since I started wearing that, my walks extended. So I'll tell you this. So when I used to walk, basically in 1 hour, I would get pain. Now that pain comes back in like 2 hours or 2 hours, 2 hour, 30 minutes. So within both your disciplines, right? Especially, let's start with Anishka, because people have stereotypes of different disciplines. So when they think of yoga, or when they think of breath work, or when they think of anything that has to do with these disciplines, they are like, oh, it's more towards the Eastern side of things, right? Some people like Sam Harris, they have made sure that, within the West, these disciplines are propagated, breath work indeed being one of them, yoga and whatnot. So in terms of awareness, what are you guys really doing to make sure that your disciplines in particular are being carried out in a way that the larger demographic of people are getting aware of these disciplines and what their advantages are? So how do you really market these disciplines is something I'm really curious to know.
I think in wellness, in yoga, meditation, energy healing, the West has kind of already done that. So it's become it's not something you have to work at. It's trendy as well.
Absolutely.
Like hot yoga.
Reiki.
Yoga with a goat. Like I've seen random things. Dog. Like there's lots of different strange things. But
I think on that, sound healing is also quite...
It's huge now.
Yeah.
It's something which has become popular. And I think it's also... People are always looking to do something different. So now what I see is like a lot of people are having their celebrations with sound healing.
Yes.
So you have many baby showers and they want to do sound healing, like small group birthday parties, and they do a sound healing session, which is also very nice to see because it helps to introduce people to the practice.
Yeah.
And even just doing it, like, because you're doing it out of joy of being with that group, right? You may not actually be into it. So, but it plants a seed. So you did it, you got to experience it. And then maybe you might follow up and go for more.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really good way, which I've seen as part of my studio now, that is introducing people and making them aware about these things. But coming back to how we bring awareness would be maybe sometimes conducting free sessions, so people come on Instagram, posting more about it, posting more facts about it, like what is it that it's actually doing. It's not only just relaxing you for sound healing. It's not just relaxing you. It's actually a therapeutic practice. It has science behind it. It's healing you. And there's, I think now in Dubai itself, many people who can say that, yeah, it's done some very good stuff for them.
Indeed.
Absolutely. I've actually been part of one of these birthdays.
Okay.
Where one of my friends hosted a sound healing session. And a couple of people there, I was quite surprised how they had no idea what sound healing was. And it was a good introduction for them. Like you said, in terms of marketing, I think something it just becomes is if you also the practice is so it's so widely known now, and I think to Adnan's point as well, it's more Eastern. I would say it's more Westernized now.
Yeah.
And it's becoming the cool thing.
Yeah.
So I feel like these the sessions is what actually introduce people. We had this in our office as well, in my office, and a lot of people were introduced to sound healing even then. It's about, again, how many sessions you kind of attend and who do you talk to, who do you interact with. That kind of helps.
Yeah.
Kind of, bring awareness, I suppose, as well.
For sure. There was a point where I was conflicted with my thought process on when people make things a bit cool and it goes away from the true meaning of the practice for multiple things under wellness. But at the same time, if it's a way to help get to people and just introduce it, again, it's like planting a seed. That's it. You've got a taster, and then it's up to you. Because many people, it's not cheap either, right? It's still a payment you have to make. So you're a bit more careful to try new things.
Of course.
So you wouldn't just sign up for a healing session just out of buying a new cup of coffee at a new cafe. So if you get a taste and you're like, okay, something happened, at least the first thing people experience is relaxation. I would say one of the biggest things is that you're not allowed to use your phone, so you're already feeling some positive impact by just keeping the phone away. And the other is mostly what I hear is that people sleep much better that same night that they do it. So that is something we all need as well, better sleep.
For sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
For sure.
One thing I'll say is that, within the gym culture, so let's go back in the days like 2008 and stuff. Gym was really commercialized by people on 4chan. Essentially, a guy's name comes to mind. He has passed away, but he has really commercialized gym. His name is Ziz.
Okay.
So gym became all about aesthetics without having that healthy framework within the body. So people would take steroids, especially guys. The steroid culture boomed from there, and people would go into different types of hormones and whatnot. But I feel like some sort of balance is slowly coming back, wherein people now start stretching. So back in the days, it was just all about the pump. We need to get the pump in us, But now people are stretching, using things like sauna. And while this demographic may not understand the ways, Anishka, you have, portrayed your discipline, I feel like it's slowly coming there. And then from there, let's just really segue into the gym culture in general, Brett. So I'm certain you have a lot of clients, right? In terms of performance recovery, to be specific. So what are some key insights you can tell us about the gym culture within the UAE and these clients which you have helped, from a performance recovery point of view? Because gym injuries are very common. People want to lift the next PR. We want to go for the next PR.
Of course.
So what can you really comment on this?
So just to make it clear, I actually, since 2020, I pretty much purely work online. But I've obviously before that, I've spent 15 years in gyms. So Yeah, a lot of experience. So the interesting part about a gym is you get many different type of people in there, and so you can imagine being a recovery coach focusing on breathing, and then you're next to like a squat rack. It can be quite an interesting combination. So you get many different people using a gym, but to go back to your point about that, what I found when I first started working in Dubai, started working in Dubai 2018 at a place called Fit Republic, and I felt like the difference was when I worked before, it was almost like people were paying for a result. Right? So I felt like a service, like people paid me and I went, there you go. And it was very strange. And for me, it was very strange. And I kind of, through just being on social media and stuff, I found a few people that had come out, coached in Dubai, and then moved back to UK, and that was one of the main reasons why they did, because kind of a bit of a lack of accountability. And so I would actually say in a gym culture, what I saw was a lack of accountability and more sort of like, I can pay for this and I can get it. Right?
Immediate results.
Immediate results, like instant validation, right? So that's what I saw. But I think then 2 years after that, we go through a pandemic. And I think it just, I was saying to my clients at the time, it's going to be a very interesting time because people are going to be left with the stillness of their mind. And this is going to be very interesting. So I think since then, the whole focus on mental health has kind of probably helped out what we do. But going back to the gym cultures, I mean, I moved here when I was 32. I'm 40 now, so I'm not really a beach club six-pack kind of guy, right? But the way you look, the car you drive, it's still very important to people in Dubai, right? Maybe it's changing, but I feel that there's that around it. So when you go into a gym, especially somewhere like Fit Republic, it's quite it can make people feel quite vulnerable because everyone in there looks like an athlete. Is that people are really chasing performance and aesthetics, and you see, like coming from England to Dubai, I mean, you see physiques that you've never seen before, right? You see people at a level you've never seen before. I've only seen them like this and I've been in the industry for so many years. You only see them in movies or magazines, and like everyone is in this incredible shape, right? So the dedication they've got to look their best is unreal. But maybe the dedication to be their healthiest, maybe that you look at someone who looks amazing but not so much their healthiest. But then we go through 2020 and beyond, and I think a lot of people have started to realize, actually, I want longevity, I want to work on my mental health. And I can't talk from 2020 and beyond because I haven't been in gyms, but I would imagine now a lot more people go into a gym with the reason that they work out is for their mental health rather than their six-pack or whatever else it is.
I actually have a quick one on that. I've been to the gym saying that here is the money, please get me fit, but at the same time I get very intimidated by the crowd around. Is it true that like certain workouts are not for certain people? Like, for example, I'm going to take my example. I've got psoriasis, and my doctor's like, HIIT is not for you. Like, stay away from HIIT. Creates a lot of heat in the body. Does it work like that? Like, certain workouts cannot be for certain people?
My answer is going to be, if that's what you believe, then yes. But if you have an open mind, then no.
Okay.
I wouldn't stop it. Obviously, there's parameters that you would put around somebody. So, like, for instance, I would never train anyone without thinking about graded exposure.
Okay.
So it would always be sort of a step-by-step process with somebody. But to bluntly tell somebody that you can't do X is going to... It lasts like a tattoo, not a bruise, right? So that person, and I'm sure Niska will confirm this as well, is that I'm just Brett Norris and I just say things and I'm just one of 8 billion people. But I will talk to some people and my words will last with them for the rest of their life. You be very careful what you say to people about exercise. It will live with them. It could live with them.
Yeah.
So no, but there's always parameters. And where are you starting? Where's your entry point? And the best thing is to go into exercise without fear. And to be guided. And I say you're probably going to start off with breath anyway, because it just puts someone in a position to, like, if you go through HIIT work, but you're coming in and you're coming off a 12-hour shift, you know, and you've just caught yourself in the mirror and you think, oh, I'm not looking my best, and you go in and you just power through a class, probably not the best, right?
Okay.
But if you're going because you just want your performance to get better and you're doing everything else around it, then what's wrong? you know?
I think it also kind of comes back to awareness, where the more you become aware of your own body, of yourself, you know what's right for you. There's a lot of things where people just make it like, okay, if you have this, you can't do this. Like, if you have this, you should do this.
Yeah.
Which is really, again, we're all different human bodies. We all have our own unique blueprint.
Yeah.
And not everything is for everyone. And not everything isn't for everybody. So you have to see what suits you, and try it. Like, say for you personally, like if you enjoy doing it, see how it feels. Go to the class, go slow.
Yeah.
Don't go all out. And even when you're, say for example, when you're sitting with someone, you know whether you like them or you don't like them.
Yeah.
But maybe your best friend told you she's terrible. You know, be careful of her.
Yeah.
That's her perception. But but you're like, how? I'm just having the best time with this girl. So you have to always, I think, see how you're feeling, and your body always knows what's best for you. The more you tune into your body, you know. So even certain diseases, they come to you because it's sort of been built up. And it's now just manifested as an issue.
Yeah.
You know, one thing when you think of diseases, so if you check out the word itself, dis-ease, it's a lack of ease within the body, right?
Yeah.
Dis-ease. I was reading this book. The title of the book was "Why is my brain not working?" Literally, that was the title. And one of the key things that I want to really segue into is that some people are so inflamed, so they take on the perceptions of others, and they're inflamed mentally, right? So think of it this way. Within guys, we have the trend of bigorexia, where guys are insecure. They want to be the next big guy. God rest his soul, we can think of someone like Rich Piana. He would take synthol and steroids and many other things just to hit the next PR, right? Another person, when it comes to the female demographics, is a very big influencer. Her name is Eugenia Cooney. She suffers from critical anorexia. So people have these warped up perceptions about themselves. And I want to know sort of from the both of you, you know, you may have had clients who have this very warped up perception that if I'm not looking like X, I'm not going to maybe get X number of clients, or maybe my wife or my husband is not going to love me enough. Or maybe my kids are not going to look up to me if I don't have a certain amount of muscle mass. So these insecurities are diseases of the brain, essentially. Your brain is not at ease, really.
Yeah.
So I want to know from the both of you, and let's start with Anishka, really. You may have had clients who may have had these perceptions, these warped up perceptions. So how do you really dive in and tackle these issues within the human brain and the human body?
I think that's where the mind shaping or mind shifting kind of comes into play, where you have to, like, I'll come back to awareness, because the more you start to become aware of yourself, you also start to become more comfortable with yourself. Because when you're aware, then you'll also start judging yourself less, right? Like right now we judge ourselves because we look at Instagram and we see that this is the perfect life, perfect body, perfect everything. And then you see, okay, you don't have it, because while you're watching it, in that moment, you're not out in the same place. You're not wearing the same clothes. You don't have that body, maybe. So we start to really bring ourselves down with judgment, with self-consciousness. So when you start to maybe like affirmations, when you do affirmations, it's not like some people have an issue with affirmations by saying that, why am I convincing myself of something I'm not? But you've done that. You've convinced yourself of what you're not.
Of course.
But the other way
by
around,
repeating that I am not this. So it's total affirmations in a negative, in the reverse way. So why don't you want to just change it in the positive way?
Yeah.
And if you see energetically, every word has its own vibration.
Yes.
Yeah.
So even if you don't believe it, the vibration is coming to you. The same way you like some music, which is a happy music. You don't get it. It could be in a different language. It could be instrumental. But it has a higher vibration. And it's just connecting with you. Maybe it makes you feel relaxed, calm. So if you just start to train yourself, everything is training. You want to get good at basketball, you practice.
Yeah.
So you want to get good at thinking more powerfully about yourself, it's practice.
Yeah.
It's not just something that's going to come to you, because what somebody values is not the same as what you value. So how can I believe that? So it's just really, it's a practice, it's a challenge, as anything else is. There's some word I like someone used, it's mental gym.
Oh,
It's a mental gym.
it's interesting. Never heard of that before.
Yeah. So that's all you're doing, training the brain muscle.
To add to that, like what I really like looking at in when clients, what fascinates me is what happens to us when we're children, and just this absolute need to fit in. And so what happens with a lot of people, well, a lot of children, is that they just become something they're not, to please others and not get left alone from the family, or to get their mother's love or their dad's love or whatever it might be. And so it happens to people at different ages, where you get to a point in your life where you're like, this is no longer serving me. And it's usually an inflection point in your life where it might be depression, it might be, just you start not feeling yourself. You're almost like at a fight with yourself. And this is probably where your work would be amazing in terms of, allowing that energy to flow. And it kind of comes back to this self-identity, which is the fact that when I'm working with clients, what they're trying to do is they say to me, right, I'm at A and I want to get to B. So, I've not been doing much for 3 years, but I want to, in 3 months, I want to run 10K. But I'm going to try and do that with the identity of someone that can't run, and that I'm absolutely useless, and that I'm unlovable, and that, all of these things, right? And it's like, well, it's not going to work. So the first thing you have to do is to the awareness to understand what self-identity are you actually attached to, and who is a real you. And so if you were to ask everyone you met, like, describe your self-identity, you'll get a lot of people can't do it.
Yeah.
And we're now, like, narcissism has become quite a big talking point amongst a lot of people, right? And what that is just lots and lots and lots and lots of layering on your authentic self, right? And an inability to actually go inwards. And so if you can get somebody to start removing the layers, and so I love the term of, like, actually what we're doing is unbecoming who we think we are to become who we actually are. Whereas majority of people will see it that I've got to become something.
Yeah.
And it's less about pushing and forcing and moving forwards, and just allowing things just to dissolve. And then that's how you get back to yourself. So adding to your point, it's like all comes back to that awareness of who you actually are, and then can you take up more space with that, which is scary. Like, majority of people want to be accepted for who they're not, then rejected for who they are, right?
That's so true.
So
true.
It's really difficult for people.
Yeah.
And it's also that mindset of always saying no because of that fear. So it might be something you want to do, but my first reaction would be like, oh no, I can't, but maybe another day.
Yeah.
But instead, if you just change one small word, that no to a yes, I would love to. Let's try for, it could be a much later time in the day.
Yeah.
But again, that whole energy within you and the person changes, that I am capable and I want to do it and I will do it, as opposed to, no, I just can't. Like, it's not possible. So you're just shutting off all possibilities that can come to you.
Yeah.
That's quite interesting. It's like rewiring, kind of reframing
Yes.
your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It all comes back to the neuroplasticity, but those words don't mean anything to most people.
Yeah.
So you would call it like reframing, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
then that makes sense to people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's another thing as well, just very quickly, kind of touching on a point what you said about words we use. Oftentimes people like us are putting great information out there, but in ways that can't be accessed because people don't know the words.
Yeah.
Have no idea. You're talking to, like, Susan in HR, and she has no idea about neuroplasticity, and she's like, I need that, or Jeffrey or whoever, and like, I have no idea about that, and they can't use the information. But if you say we're just trying to reframe the way you see things, makes sense. It's kind of accessible.
Yeah.
It's easy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Have you had clients? Because I genuinely believe that, this is something I have self-discovered for myself, where if you stay in the present moment and you do things like the gym like breath work. Most people, when you see them, they're like, I want to be in the next big place. I want to have the 6-pack ab in like 10 months or whatever that may be. And for that, they'll go to any extent, right? Or even when it comes to yoga, so there are different levels to Kriya Yoga. And, you know, some people are like, we want to reach the level of enlightenment of the gurus. And they want to do it in the quickest time possible, wherein that thing can affect their mental health in the most negative way possible, because it's a process-oriented thing. So what has that journey been like, where you brought these clients back to the present level, where you're like, hey, you're not going to die if you don't get the 6-pack ab in 10 months. And hey, you're not going to miss on enlightenment if you don't do it in the next 10 months. So how has that journey been like to bring people back into the present? For the both of you, I want to pitch this question.
I think that's where sort of a fault comes already, right?
Yeah.
Trying to achieve something, so you're already forgetting that you are something.
Yeah.
So every time we do goal setting or intention setting, you get there and then you're like, but by the time you get there, you've already set a new goal. So we never look at that today, I am who I am because I dreamed of this.
Yes.
I wanted this maybe 5 years ago or 10 years ago. But we just don't stop and reflect. And if we did that, then we would be in the now that, okay, I've done this. Yay. So it comes to just stilling the body, the mind. Because when you do that, you start to become aware of all your goals, all your achievements, of who you are. Like there's a practice in meditation which is just being still. You know, everyone tries to control their mind, they want to not think because they just want to stop the organ from doing its function, which could be quite strange. It's like asking your heart, please don't beat.
Well, that's going to be a problem.
Of course.
That's going to be a problem indeed.
Because the brain wants to think. But what we're doing for meditation is trying to control the thoughts and that you take over. But coming back to that practice, is just being still. Whatever thoughts you have, it's okay. It could be repeated thoughts, whatever it is. Let the thoughts be. But the challenge is of you just not moving. And and resisting that urge to move. So after a couple of minutes, you'll actually find that once you do manage to resist that urge to move, you're suddenly like, okay, my mind's also suddenly still. So it's an easy form of meditation, but we always want to keep moving our hands, our hair, like adjust our hair, our clothes. You know, like, I don't know if you've done yoga, like if you're in Shavasana or if you're trying to meditate, you suddenly feel there's ants all over you. Like, you know, like you're like, oh, like ants or flies, like you want to itch. But if you look, like,
there's nothing.
There's nothing.
Yeah.
But our mind plays these games because we've trained it. It's all about training. We've trained it that if you're still, you're doing nothing.
And nothing is wrong.
Exactly. Yeah. So the mind is not trying to hamper you in any way. It's just saying, hey, this is how I've been trained. And why are you sitting idle? Idle would be the word, which is a negative word.
In this world today.
In this world.
Yeah.
So just being is frowned upon by our mind.
Yeah, that's right.
So we just have to train our mind again that, hey, only when you are just being, when you're still, is when the healing occurs, is when the ideas come. Why do people say in the shower you get good ideas? Because they're just focusing on showering. You're focusing on one activity.
Right.
So that's what it is. It's just coming back to stillness, to stilling the body, the mind, to be able to breathe.
Yeah.
Just in terms of like with the work that I do, the two kind of scenarios I'm thinking of are you've got the very, very successful, and I really don't mean this in a sexist way, it's just what I see in my work, is that you get a very, very successful man that's recently retired. It's a very interesting case, so you get that. And then you get the lady that has so many responsibilities. She is everything for everybody. And I'm always I'm asking like my female clients, like, when was the last time that a man held space for you and that you had a problem, they didn't try and fix it? And they're like, never. Like, never. Right? And so holding space for a lady, I'm assuming, I'm a man, so I don't know what that's like to do as a lady, but like holding space for a lady I don't know when it happens, because they're just responsible for everything. Even as a man, I noticed the same thing we're working on myself over the last few years, is not trying to place the cognitive load of a task on my wife. So my wife would say, could you do this for me? I'll ask her, where's this? I've done it. And I go, oh, I have done it. But no, actually, she's done all the cognitive loading, and I've just completed it, right? And so, my God, like a lady's life is incredible. Like, responsible for everything all the time. And as men, we go through it kind of mindlessly. And so go into the man, they really struggle. A lot of people that I meet really, really struggle with retirement, because they are so used to having a structure, they're so used to being important, they're so used to all of these, the person that earns the money and brings the food on table, or whatever it might be that they do in their relationship. As you were saying, they just go on to the next thing. And when I think to myself, where do I see that in society? I love football, and like I loved him as a footballer. I'm not so sure about him as a motivational speaker. There's a guy called Rio Ferdinand, and he is one of the people that sticks in my mind for like, just go on to the next thing. I won the cup and I wanted to go on to the next thing. And I'm like, you see this in society, no one ever appreciates like what they've done. Like, and you come here and that's just, you're always on to the next thing. And for myself personally, what I try and instill in my clients is that I got rid of the word busy like so many years ago. And success for me was just being able to have, if I can spend an hour with my dog during the day, right? And someone says, how was your day, Dan? I said, between 3 and 4, I spent an hour with my dog, right? And then I went back and did some work. For me, that's success. How many people would actually be able to admit that? They wouldn't. They'd scrap that out and they'd say, oh, yeah, so busy.
And Brett, there's
and it's for what? Like, but how productive were you? Like, how much are you enjoying your life?
You know, there's shame and stigma associated with that. So think of my granddad. My granddad was a professor. He would, back in the days, he would cycle a lot and he would go to his universities. The guy fell into depression and then he could not even walk because he was like, oh, well, I'm useless. People after retirement, especially for guys, they're like, I'm useless now. And I'm not of value anymore. Really for ladies, I feel like it keeps them driven because they're mums, grandmoms, wives, different roles all the time, right? So it's quite dynamic. But let's segue to some trends. What do you think?
But before that, I would actually want to understand, because you spoke about retired people, old people, like they say muscle is the currency for good metabolic health. How do you actually particularly educate people who only start learning this after the age of 50 or 60? Because that's something that, considering our families as well,
for sure,
it is an extreme task to do that.
For sure.
So do you face difficulties with your clients, or even like perhaps, I don't know, let's say someone's mum, like a client's mum, like how do you get them to understand how important muscle health is?
Yeah, in terms of a muscular system, I try and help people understand that actually as an organ, it's something that helps regulate like the release of everything, right? Like it's compression, expansion. It helps with flow of everything. What I see in my world is that people are genuinely, they've got a physical problem, right? So what's happening now is you've got a lot of the neurosciences coming in and people are trying to fix every problem with their mind. And so they're trying to just do everything from either like a somatic point of view or a mind point of view, and they're leaving strength on the table.
Okay.
And so again, you've got to allow someone has to arrive at that way of thinking. I'm not a believer in trying to convince people. Someone has to kind of, you can obviously guide someone and bring them plant seeds, but I don't see the problem so much in men. Okay. I see the problem in ladies, and I think one reason for this actually is been in the industry for almost 20 years, and I said to Niska before this, around 2006, all about core stability. Like it was just core stability. Paul Chek was a major influence in the industry. Core stability. It must have been around 2012 maybe, where ladies were really getting involved with strength, which is amazing to see. But how old were they? The generation above them, they weren't in that. True. So they're now hitting, 55, 60. 60s, and strength's not really, they're thinking, how do I get strong when I feel so frail?
Yeah.
Right. And then the thing that will come to me all the time is osteoporosis, arthritis.
Yeah.
And I've been told I shouldn't load my body, right? Which, when you understand how the human body works, that's probably not a great thing to do, to never load it, like never stress it, like never, So it just perpetuates the problem. So yes, it's a bit of education around why strength is important. And the key I found is you've got to bring safety around strength.
Yeah.
Safety.
They will start thinking, like, you'll say to someone, it'd be good if you started doing strength work, and they'll go, I'm not doing 100 push-ups. And you go, like, don't, like, it's fine. Like, that's not the way we're getting to. Like, see if we can do one, right? See if we do one against the wall, right?
Yeah.
Or I'm not doing those deadlift things that I see in the gym with hundreds of kilos. Like, yeah, again, like, not that, but just some weights. So, like, where they're seeing it, because they're just fear-based, is so extreme on what they've got to do. So understanding, like, the graded exposure that I was talking about, how you would actually introduce someone to a strength program, breathe in, things like this would be how I would help them in.
All right, so that's been quite some insights on muscular health. I want to segue into some trends, given that this podcast is about health, obviously. 2 trends come to mind. The rise of the drug Ozempic.
Of course.
So people, they wanna...
Everyone's talking about it.
Everyone wants to become slim and thin. That's one. And with that, there's a trend within the Gen Zs known as look maxing. So look maxing is this whole idea to have a chiseled jaw, have abs, but I feel like it's taken to the extreme end, really. So I really want to know your insights on Ozempic, first of all. And it has a lot of side effects, but so think of it this way, people are so inflamed mentally, I would say, that they're willing to take the side effects of a drug to look a certain way, rather than, do something in a sustained manner. So in both these trends I've seen, even with look maxing, people are going and hammering their jaws to have a more refined jawline. If you want to become tall, XYZ girls are not going to like you if you're not a 6-foot guy. So you go to Africa and you go to Tanzania and you learn the Maasai way of jumping to increase your height. So these trends are leading online in the charts. I mean, you get millions of views with this. So what are your insights really about what's happening online with the trend of health? And what can you really say about these things? I know this is funny, but this is true.
It's a bit extreme. It is what it is, because it's actually happening.
Exactly, and a lot of people are doing it. It's not a small thing. It's not just an Instagram fad. In reality, people are doing this, and it's something right now. It's we live in an instant gratification world, right? So you're getting the results instantly, but then it's in due time you'll feel the side effects. So I think it's just something we'll be seeing later. But then there is also that certain crowd who understand, maybe they're the older generation, who are willing to take it slow. They understand that slow and steady wins the race kind of thing. But it's sad, I think.
I was seeing a Vice documentary. So I think it was Vice, or it was a documentary nonetheless. There's this guy by the name of Toji. He's very famous online, and he openly takes steroids, right? So he has taken also like look maxing to the extreme. And he's like, you live once, might as well just try everything and, look the best and whatnot. So Brett, what do you think of this whole trend of look maxing and Ozempic and the rise of these alternative?
Yeah, I mean, it probably, it helps before I give my answer that you understand who I am as a person, which is like, I'm a very, very emotional man, right? So like when, I love supporting people emotionally. I'm very open. I love deep conversations. Never middle me on a table, because I'll ruin the dinner party. I'll just go deep, philosophical straight away. So I'm not into that. So that doesn't really, like, for instance, I see, I hope this makes sense, like Instagram and stuff is kind of like Black Mirror. What you look for, you get back. So I don't see this because I don't look for it. Right. So I don't really see that. If I went through my reels and stuff that you see, this isn't coming up. So for me, it doesn't exist in my world. So when you say these things, I'm kind of like, oh, this is kind of, I know it's out there, but it's kind of new to me. What I would come back to, a quote that I love by Charlie Chaplin, is sometimes we think too much and we feel too little. And I kind of have empathy for these people, that it's really hard to actually truly feel ourselves. And that maybe if we do change how we look, then people will love us more. But it comes back to the same thing that, like, unless you actually love yourself first and feel comfortable in your own skin, why would anyone... People are going to feed off that vibration. I used to be very uncomfortable in my own skin, so I used to be the jokey guy all the time. So it'd be no surprise to you that I was the joker in, and then people come up and talk to me, they just tell me jokes. They just have banter with me.
Yeah, that's the energy.
Whereas now I've become like the philosophical man, right? Yeah. So now people come up to me and they're like, they're always saying to my wife, like, oh, I love your husband, like he can talk about this, he needs to teach my husband how to do this, blah, blah. Because I've become more comfortable with myself. And I think now I'm 40, I think it's kind of easier. I kind of don't really care too much about people's opinions because they're just their projections on me. But I think there's a huge part of the world that aren't that comfortable, and you've also got to meet people in life that make you that comfortable. And one thing I'm going to say, because she's just incredible, is my wife has helped me a lot in the sense that she has given me a safe space to actually be myself. And if there's one thing I'd give anyone in this world, it's a safe space you can be yourself. And people probably don't have it.
Yeah. And
they probably don't have a safe space to actually be themselves. I would imagine. People
are chronically online as well. I feel like the space away from your phone can help. One more thing. So this is something which you can help the people of Dubai with. Shout out to Al Mulla Plaza, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, Al Khail Road. All of these roads are filled with traffic, right? Let's have like a quick thing about it. What can people really do within traffics to help sort of
ease themselves
into it?
I'd say it starts before you get in the car, right? So it's a little bit like the whole sort of like the sleeping starts in the morning, right? So it starts before you get in the car. So use any situation where you feel like it makes you respond in a way that you don't like. Focus on the response. Don't focus on the stimulus, what's going on. The problem isn't the traffic. The problem is your perception of the traffic, right? When you realize that you're one of 8 billion people in the world and Tim is up there and he's just been involved in a car crash and he's dead, and you're going, but I need to get home because I need to see Tottenham play football. This is my life's so wrong. Like, it's not about you. Like, get out of your self-importance. It's not about you. And give yourself space in those moments. You can give yourself space in moments. You can literally end up choosing your responses to things. But if you respond to instant stimulation like this, well, then you'll be unconscious or subconscious, and your subconscious can only repeat. It can't do anything new. So trying to be consciously choose your response. So you might sit there and think, oh my God, like he's caused this. Just take a step back and try and think of something else that will leave you in a better state. You are responsible for how you feel. No one else.
That's so true.
That's what I would say.
Personal accountability.
That's what I would say.
And do you think breath work as well while driving?
I mean, yeah, you definitely can. You can chant, listen to calming music. But to be honest, the thing I do in the car when I'm stuck in traffic, it's my phone time. Not like be on the phone, but like call somebody, catch up.
Just carry it. The's no
police
in the room.
Dubai police is watching,
I'm sitting
guys.
on the back seat.
Dubai police is watching. Let's just be careful. So
it's just time to catch up on life. And it's just how you see it. It's either you're stuck or you're actually doing things, taking action in your life while you're moving instead of being stuck in a room. And another thing that I like doing is listening to affirmations in the car.
That's so nice.
Especially in the morning and then in the evening, because it's just good. You're kind of in traffic and you're just listening to it. It's getting into your subconscious.
Might as well build that mental muscle.
The reason that this is like really I feel like I've got somewhere with this is because 2008 2009 experienced chronic depression, and I spoke to a therapist, and the therapist literally talked me through being stuck in traffic. And I was getting enraged even talking to him. And it was all about, but my manager's going to think I'm late, and it wasn't my fault, and it was this, and it was this. And you build stories around an event's going to happen. You stress for like 2 hours. You get into work and your boss goes, "You're right." And you go, "Oh yeah, I'm so sorry. I was stuck in traffic." And they go, "That's all right, no worries." And you've just spent 2 hours of your life fretting about something that really hasn't happened. So generally in life, things work themselves out and they're okay. So try to like
experience life
and
control it.
When has something really worked out as devastatingly bad as you thought it would, we tend to suffer more in imagination than reality. So
that's so true. But any last questions you have, Echha, for them?
A couple of them. We'll just play a quick round of Would You Rather.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so would you rather meditate or journal?
Meditate.
Journal.
Okay.
And would you rather have 3 meals a day or 5-6 smaller meals a day?
3 meals.
6 massive meals.
Oh, that's a treat.
No, 5 or 6.
Vitamin D or sunlight?
Sunlight.
Sunlight.
Okay.
And the last one, the last one, any supplement that you recommend our audience, like it's a must have, like, don't skip it, any shape and form.
I don't take any, so I can't recommend.
Okay.
She's running on that natural energy, and that's so good, honestly.
I would
Grounding.
go along with
Grounding. Grounding.
Yeah, I'd give an
That
answer.
I
I'd give an answer like
recommend.
this.
Yeah.
No, give an answer like this.
Yeah.
Look within.
Yeah.
Supplementation. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, guys, where can we really find you guys? What social media platforms? Where can we find you guys? Can you give us some?
Anushka.
I have a studio
Okay.
that I've just opened. It's been a year now in JLT. It's called Soulside Wellness. So you can find me there. Our Instagram is Soulside Wellness.
Lovely. Brett?
For myself, my company is called Brett Norris Coaching. I'm harder to find because you tend to get to me through referrals, because I was talking about before being a relator. But yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, anywhere like that. Brett Norris Coaching.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lovely conversation, guys. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
your
so
time.
much for coming.
Thank
And
you
Thank you for having us.
for having us. Yeah.